Participatry Design and ICT4D means to Malaysia. So Dr. Masitah is the Associate Professor from UTM Malaysia. So before we start, so just a little bit on the schedule. So the session will start at 11 since we have a little bit of delay. And we have lunch at 12, and then after that we will take a bus to Puchal Gallery at 1 p.m. So make sure you catch up the bus to 1 p.m. to Puchal Gallery. But we still have backup transport at 1:30 if you miss the bus. Then 1:30 I'll be here also to bring you over. So we pass the mic to Dr. Masitah.
Okay, thank you, Willie. Very good morning, still morning. It's a bit, not weird, but we have to adapt because of the sunset. Like 1 hour earlier. Okay. Right, so thank you very much for having me and thank you for joining this session with me. So the topic that I've been asked to share by the organizer is on participatory design, the emergence of it. Okay, we've been hearing a lot about participatory design from the perspective of Tariq's team and his work. He and his team has done marvelous work. Okay, we have to hats off to the team within these people. So I'm here simply to share what sort of participatory design that me and my team have been working on. What sort of how do we do it differently? What are the challenges that we faced? And perhaps at the end of the session, we could, I don't know, I would like to see that all of us could engage and think about what can we do together, okay? Because I understand that most of all of you, okay, some of you are students, some of you are doing your research, some of you are actually policymakers and have roles and positions, you know, to make things happen. So let's go for and listen what I have to share. Yeah. Okay. I don't bring my pointer, so I have to like walk around. So this is the title. Just a little bit about myself. Name. Okay, Masitah. Currently attached at School of Computing, okay, University of Technology Malaysia. For those who haven't been to UTM before, we actually have 2 campuses. The main one is in Skudai, in Johor, and we also have one in UTMPL. In UTMPL are the ones that offers masters, PhD, all the advanced levels. Undergraduate programs are all in Skudai. Yeah? Of course, in Skudai, on the main campus, so we offer up until the PhD level. Okay. At the same time, I'm also associate member at the UTM Digital. So at UTM, we have a center. Previously, it was known as ICT Digital. No, Center of ICT. Okay, Center of ICT. So where we have the in-house team to work on the systems. We provide solutions to the UTM. So I was asked to join the team, you know, to consult them, especially from the aspect of the usability part, the UI UX part. So I was there with them. In terms of my research area, so it's pretty much driven by human-computer interaction. Okay, HCI. Currently, my students are working on brain-computer interface, persuasive technology, user experiences. I have 2 students with me, Shah and Fateh. Okay. And I also have a background on software engineering. So I will talk about that in a little more detail because this is how I shape my sharing today as well. Yeah. And at the same time, since the topic is very much not specifically on my area, my research area, so I'm bringing in my experience from my activities outside UTM, which is I also attach with my HCI UX. So my HCI UX is Kuala Lumpur ACM chapter. So it's under Association of Computing Machinery. Okay, HQ is in New York, but we have loads of chapters around the world. Okay, so I do outside activities outside the university because in our life we are driven by what we like to do, right? So as if our life is not busy enough. But yeah, so yeah, most of the sharing is from my activities with my team on that platform as well. Yeah. Okay. So just a little snippet of UTM. So you know, there's a few you haven't been there. So this is like luscious green of our campus in Skudai. We don't have big lake in KL, obviously. Okay, so if you like to come down, okay, do drop by. If you're en route to Singapore, do drop by to JB. Yeah. Okay. So our landmark is basically the mosque in the middle, and it is like all the faculty buildings are surrounding the mosque. Yeah. Okay. I know it's a little bit small, but as I said, the sharing today is very much driven from my background and my point of view. Okay, so as I mentioned, my background just now was on KCI. At the same time, I also have some knowledge or skill on requirements engineering and also software testing. Okay, so technical bit. So if I can share, I'm very much happy to be with the UTM Digital because I know how to speak with the development team. At the same time, I also can bring myself outside from the team to understand the audience. Okay, so I think this is the one of the skills that can help so that whatever not demands but problems or challenges, we are there to translate from one side to another. Okay, so this is where I'm coming from, and this is how or what I'm going to share. So the two things that I would like to touch are basically on the participatory design, okay, and another one is ICT4D. If you read up on ICT4D, those who are coming from computer science, we don't use this term frequently. Okay, it's not really common. Unless if you are from information systems, this is the term that they commonly use. But I would like to, I'm happy to share the term here because at the end of the talk, you will see why. Yeah? Okay. So these are some of the descriptions that just to bring you the narrative how I'm shaping up the talk today. Yeah. Okay. So I begin with because my background is from those technical background. So I would like to take the perspective from, because the topic is on Malaysia. So I would like to begin with the scenario. Okay. In our context, our country, when I was like looking back, trying to look for information, how early? Okay, actually it was before the 1990s, but I think the prominent initiative was back in 1996, 1997, I think when MSC, I think Multimedia Super Corridor, and then the Cyberjaya IT Hub was launched. Okay, and then cross 10, 20 years, 30 years later. Okay, in between those years, we have many MDAC was initiated, okay, to govern or to manage, okay, all these initiatives, and it become very, very aggressive in some sense, where if you go to MDAC websites, in the beginning of 2010 onwards, they have many initiatives, like My Digital Maker, E-Usahawan, E-Rezeki, National Big Data Analytics Framework, all sorts of things. Okay, so those are the initiatives. And as of late, okay, now we are in the year 2022, so we are moving onwards, okay, I noticed that some of the trends that people have started to pick up is we have 4 areas. Okay, we have e-commerce, fintech, cloud, and cybersecurity. Yeah, all right. And if you move on to the next chart, okay, I know it's a bit small, so sorry about this. I should have put one picture in one slide. Nonetheless, okay, we can see that the market growth here, okay, very much on the mobility. And I think you can also see the trends. But nowadays, when you speak to the youngsters, the startups, okay, they love to come up with new solutions, new applications, services, and whatnot. Okay, so these are things. Okay. At the same time, me being an academician, me being teaching undergraduate students, okay, to become software engineers, software engineering program is very demanding because we know there is a demand by the industry. Okay, so this is also recent, a shortage of software engineering in Malaysia. So we can see that it is booming, okay, and it is still demanding, and students are very much happy to be in the program. Okay, right. So from all these 4 areas, I would like to just bring in one trend to show how popular or how demanding the software development right now in Malaysia. So this is just fintech only. Okay, so fintech they produce this kind of report every year, and I think this is the latest one, 2022. If you have time, you can go back to 2019, 2018. You can see previously it was less. Okay, now it has a lot. Okay, so that they are growing, very demanding, and you can see what I'm trying to bring here is it is very much product driven, isn't it? Very much product driven. Yeah. So we as a Malaysians, we can sense these things. So many apps, you know, so many products. Yeah. Now, sometimes I would like to also see when this thing is happening, right? What is there any initiatives, you know, to make sure that it can be used properly, you know? Is there any policies? So, if we visited Mampu, I think it's Mampu, from my government website, yeah. Actually, they have a blueprint, which is good, yeah. It has. They started early, okay, and then I put a green square here, okay, because somewhere we are here. So GOS-G is the gateway. I think most of you are already familiar. It's the GOS gateway, and what I like about it is, yeah, one of it is specifically mentioned, citizen and people centric. They do care, right? They do care, yeah. Okay, so they have this nice intention. They want to make sure that this, you know, roll out in all ministries, e-services, state level. Yeah, I like it. Okay, because it resonates with me. This is what I like. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we leave that there for time being. Now, as an academician, I would like to also see, because we've been teaching students, okay, we are filling them in with information with the hope that once they graduate, they know what they're supposed to do, okay, to ensure that if they were to come up with digital product solutions or mobile applications, it is good. It is, you know, it's supposed to be like hitting the benchmark. Yeah. Okay. So in any kind of courses that I teach, especially in human-computer interaction or requirements engineering, so generally this is the process of design. Okay, I think most of the students you do know, right? Okay. Okay. You better do. Okay. So generally we start with what is wanted. Okay, analysis, design, command and deploy. This is very typical. Okay. usually what we do in the first place is, this is where we get the requirements from. Yeah? So we have the interviews, the ethnography. Of course, there are other techniques. Okay, apart from that, okay, we have the contextual inquiry. Okay, where you are not the expert, the other person is the expert. Yeah. Questionnaire, observation. Yeah. Okay. So because the idea just now was user-centric, citizen-centric, so it should go back here. Okay. So we see one. The next one is, we also have user-centered design. Yeah. Okay. Similar, a bit different. So we have, again, understand the context of use. Okay. And then we have, from here, we try to specify the user requirements, design and evaluate. And if you notice, this is where the multidisciplinary team member comes in. Yeah. So what is happening here is people from different backgrounds get together, bringing in their understanding, how to shape, the context of use in the beginning and throughout the process. Okay? And from the software engineering point of view, requirements engineering. Okay? So this is requirements engineering, and if you notice, the second phase is specifying on requirements elicitation. So this particular phase is basically consists of what they encourage us to do when it comes to the techniques, how to elicit the requirements. Okay, are these interview, questionnaire, brainstorming, okay, viewpoint. Some of those are overlapping, or they are doing the same thing. Yeah. Okay. So, and let's look at this one. Nowadays, you also have guidelines, okay, principles, best practice, and from Mampu, because I also involved in consultation project, especially with the government kind of project, we have to adhere to all those what have been written on CRISA. Okay, so they have their framework. Okay, like here they say rangka kerja ciri-ciri user experience, daya tarikan mesra pengguna. So if I were to translate framework, what is UX criteria, attractiveness, friendliness, and trustability. So they have this. Okay, and a lot of a large corpus of information out there on the internet, design guidelines and whatnot. Yeah, and yet this is just some examples, and yet we are still seeing this kind of problem happening. Okay. Okay. So you can see from the icon lah. Okay. So we can still see this. So my question is, are we not doing it enough? Are we not doing it right? Because in the previous slides, I have shared that theoretically, conceptually, everything is there. So what actually, what's wrong? Okay. So what happened was, we felt that we should do something else. Okay, we should do something else. So this is where the PD comes in. Yeah. Okay. Right. So the idea is, we want to get the users involved, really involved. Okay. I think it's I think in our culture, I don't know about you guys, but I sense that usually when the system goes wrong, we tend to blame ourselves. It's not our fault. It shouldn't be our fault. It's never our fault. Okay. So whoever is responsible, they should know better. They should know how to do things properly. Okay. So in this situation, we go for the participatory design approach. Yeah. So this is just some examples where, again, you may see that the way that we do things is very different from what the team here is doing. Okay, the setting is totally different. Okay, because our setting is in KL, in JB, so it's in big cities. Okay, so most of our work was basically to engage with, like this one, we had this with Intan. Okay, because I think that was, I forgot already. But they wanted to make sure that the services can be benefited better. So we look from the perspective of how can we improve the service design, and then we go for the participatory design approach. So this is where all those, big guys wear ties and coats, come together, and we use tools, okay, for them to brainstorming. Every single one of them involved. Okay, so that is what was so nice about it. We also happen to have a different session. Okay, so as you can see, this is where we are getting involved with blind association. We also have, it's not in the picture, but the dwarf community. Okay, so this is concerning with similar with the e-government services again. So this one with this group of people. So we sit with them, okay, although we don't go to their place, but we sit with them, we have a chat with them, we do things with them. Before this session, we actually have a session where they share their experiences, they share their frustrations. Being a Malaysian citizen, there are so many e-services, but they felt that they have been marginalized. They cannot really use all the services. It's very, I don't know, to me it's saddening me. So we are there to help to, I think Leo was saying, to see them, to hear what they have to say. So this was another example. And another one is, remember, another group is, we have developers. In Malaysia, we have lots of developers, okay, very talented. But since the practice of participatory design is not really a culture yet, so we have to somehow not educate, but to re-educate. So I'm not sure whether the term is correct, but maybe relearn. Okay, we sit down with the developers, okay, because they are very knowledgeable in terms of what they do, but we try to bring in from the perspective of how to make sure that whatever that you are built is appreciated. So we throw some questions, we sit down with them, we do all these things with them. Yeah. Okay, so another thing that, because with participatory design, you are not constrained with just one method. You can do many things. As long as you can get them involved, they can share their thoughts, they can share their ideas, they can share their experiences. Yeah. So with them, because they involve in the development themselves, so we want to also look and see from what they understand, how can they think differently? How can they see differently? Okay, so we do, I think most of you who have do PD a lot or design thinking a lot, so we use this voting system. So we see whichever voting is a nice idea, then they can go for it. Yeah. Okay. So while we do all that, because this is, to me and my team, this is like a learning curve. Okay, we're experiencing it as we go. So we also realize something, okay, as we do our stuff. In Malaysia, power distance. So I'm not too sure whether you guys are familiar with this, no? Okay, so if from Hofstede, Hofstede, I forgot to write it down here, power distance index, what it means is, here, you can read up here. Yeah, so the Hofstede Center explained, okay, there's so many layers. In Malaysia, if you notice, yeah, how things work, is those red tape or those bureaucracy, yeah. So that defines the distance. And in Malaysia, highest. Okay. So that's why sometimes when we reflected, we kind of like struggling a bit because it's quite difficult to penetrate. Although in textbook or in articles, you know, to do PD is like this, okay? But when we translated that, as we acted, it's not as easy. And when we dig deeper, yes, obviously this is true, yeah? So we did a project. So what happened was, in Malaysia setting, one of our team member, she involved in my hackathon, okay? To make sure that the program or the event really deliver, you know, very good user experiences and so on. First, instead of understanding the frustration or the pain and gain of the citizen, we have to first understand the pain and gain of these agencies. Okay, so we have to do extra homework. We have to read up the policies. We have to really understand what they've been through, the organizer point of view, the ministry point of view. Okay, so by doing that, I know it's basically like adding extra work, but we have to go through that in order to make sure that we plan can be delivered. Yeah. So we talked about this last year in other session. So in Malaysia setting, okay, we have this extra layer, okay, government-centric, activity-centric. Because of that power distance, yeah. But eventually it's okay. Okay, we can still manage and be here. Yeah. Okay. Now I would like to just a bit on the ICT4D, because just now I was taking you guys a story of the Malaysian background. Okay, what I've been teaching, why problems still happening, and so on. Yeah. Because another term that I was focusing on today is on ICT4D. So by definition, it is referring to the use and application of technology and digital tools in international development, which is aimed, okay, at bridging the digital divide. Okay, I think at the beginning of the talk just now, I mentioned that most of outside the computer science community, especially the IS people, they know this stuff a lot, but not from the computing people. But having said that, how can we ensure all technological solutions lead to development? Why I ask this all? Because Okay, while the definition is very ideal, I think if you guys have, wanting to see ICT for good, social justice, this is a good thing, right? Yeah. But how to ensure all practical solutions fit to development? Because there are some cases where even though ICT4D projects are happening a lot, but still, this is one example, yeah? We still see this. And this happened very recently. And it was, I don't know, as a Malaysian, it saddens me lah. We've been talking a lot, infrastructure, but this shouldn't be happening. Yeah? Okay. So, perhaps, I don't have the answer, but perhaps, okay, gain a holistic view and further insights, okay, by getting the involvement and support from the policymakers. Because I think, maybe, I don't know, maybe there have been some initiative, but maybe some may have, mislook this important bit, yeah, to get the policymakers in the loophole as well. And this actually brings back to one of the projects that was shown yesterday, and the one that Dr. Tariq mentioned this morning. Okay, how the villagers, okay, they can check their signal. And I really like the idea of when the connection dropped, it alerted the authorities so they can take action promptly. So this is the kind of thing that we would like to see happening. Yeah, it should be like this. Yeah. So if we think about it, all this actually comes back to the participatory design. So if we can do the PD properly, okay, we can actually align with the ICT for development. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I've come to the end already. I didn't realize that. But I think it's good. We can keep on talking. Yeah. Not just me. All of you guys can participate. Yeah? I think what I would like to reflect with my sharing today is the Malaysian setting, okay, with the initiative of the MNC and so on, and me being teaching these subjects in university. It is very much product driven. We only hear people talk about user experiences, good UI, seriously, when the 4AR was being spoken, okay, by the government, by MDAC, by those people. Before this, when we say about user interface and a good experience, they don't really listen. Okay, but with 4AR, it somehow gives a new, new air, fresh air, okay? And I like the awareness. Now people start to talk about it, and now people, give a serious attention. This is important. We have to do this. We have to do this, okay? And I've been in projects where they don't really do this, the user part in the beginning. They only left it at the end. And that's even worse. Okay, but things are getting to change gradually, because nowadays most of the tender projects, they actually put an emphasis on making sure that it has good UI UX. So this is good. Okay. All right. PD is applied. Okay. At the moment, participatory design is applied. Okay. To gain more insights and understanding, but okay. PD is not being looked into in the sense that in a way that we only apply it. We only apply the participatory design without we really think about, oh, with this particular group or this particular situation, the PD is, you know, it has to be adopted, it has to be adapted in some ways. You know, we culturally, okay, maybe that could be done, and especially from the viewpoint of the computer science point of view, and of course, in we have seen that PD can also be applied in different settings. Yeah. And current HCI methods are not culturally universal. We've seen this a lot. I think globally, okay, globally, all the techniques are there, but when it comes back to our own community, okay, we have our own culture and so on, we have seen a lot the evidences from you guys in Sarawak, okay, everything that is not in the book, you can't really adopt it or use it 100%, yeah? And this is evidenced by other communities in the world as well, okay, by there was an article in 2019, Arab community also said the same thing. Okay, their culture also different. Okay, they I think maybe you can share. Program we have similar culture, but they have female and male. Okay, the female has to have guardian. You know, they cannot simply say yes to anything. You know, when it comes to downloading or installing app applications, you know, it's very different. Okay? And we have seen this as well. Okay, the power distance. Okay, in gaining trust or just to have a go. Okay, so we should consider policy to better understand. And I've spoken to Dr. Tariq last time. He was saying that I didn't mention this to him, but he mentioned from his experience that when his students started off by first reading through the policies, the project is a lot better because it just understand what is happening from the other point of view, not from our point of view. Okay, so when they have gained that understanding, they start to come in and provide a better solution. So I think this actually worked, but it just add up extra layers for us to do the work. Yeah? Okay. So where to next? Okay. For Participatry Design and ICT4D in Malaysia. Reimagining. Okay, Participatry Design. Okay, as it continually evolve, as continually evolving discourse. In Malaysia setting, as I mentioned, we don't talk about it. We do it, we practice it, but we don't talk about it. Okay? So since I've chatted with Dr. Tariq, and when he had this event organized, I think it's a very good initiative that we should talk about it more. Okay, because he can come in and bring in his point of view, and then in KL, in JB, or in various states in Peninsula, what is happening throughout Malaysia? How can we benefit from participatory design? I just remembered that not many years ago, but a few years back, the Penang state government, they actually take a very proactive initiative. They started already drafting their ways how to engage with their citizens, and one of it is this kind of thing. Okay, participatory design. Okay, they do user study, which is very, very good. Yeah. Okay, where am I? Okay, where to? Okay, I was on the top. Okay, so I cannot run away from academician. So academic-wise, we in our academic community, we should at the moment, especially from the computer science community, we don't see participatory design as computer science. Okay, but I think if I don't know, my wish is just for people, for the community people to acknowledge that it is a way for us to derive to better solutions, better ideas. Okay. As well the design method, involvement of model of PBS research. So this is something can be done. Okay, what can happen next? Perhaps some of you are thinking about pursuing for your masters, your PhDs. You can look into it. Okay, you have seen many models, many frameworks just now, right, in the hall. So this is something that can be done. Okay, and you can, as I mentioned, from the policy point of view. In terms of the community, okay. We have, I think, I'm coming in, okay, I'm coming into Cebu from to the Sarawak community. I would love to learn, okay, what your group has been doing, okay, what are the best practices, you know, what can be replicated, what can be applied, okay, because you guys have vast experiences. Yeah, and then keeping the policymaker in the loop for more impact. Okay, I know that at the meeting levels, this is happening a lot and very, very frequent, which is very, very good. Maybe we can take a step further where in the participatory design session, okay, more like what, as I said, getting involved, getting the users involved, really involved, and practitioners provide the training ground, because if we don't train the team properly, we still won't be able to get what we would like to get. Okay, so so this is how I see what's next if we can plan properly. Okay, in the Malaysian setting, something can be done out of it. Okay, we can streamline the ideas, we can, in some ways, try to document, come up with a module or something. Okay, so this is how I see it. Yeah? Okay, so before that, I just would like to add 2 more slides. So being attached to university, most of the grants that we apply, one of the requirements is we have to make sure all the projects are aligned with the sustainable development goals. It's great, yeah, because this actually relates back to ICT4D for the development. So we can actually package whatever that we want to do nicely, yeah. So we can see the impact, how it impacts which goal that we are trying to go for. And last but not least, I would like to promote. Okay, so nationally, at the national level, okay, students, if you have papers to submit, okay, this is not like high ISI, okay, so it's okay if you want to share your project paper, okay, because the notion of this initiative is to bring local academicians, practitioners together. Okay, so hopefully we can hear more of the local stories. Okay, what have you been doing? Okay, what have you been doing on the ground, on the field? Yeah. So we have Fusion. Okay, Fusion 2020, 2022, and it is fully online at the moment. Yeah. Hopefully we can go back physically next year. So do check it out. Okay, if you're interested, do join the symposium. So with that, thank you very much for listening. Do share your thoughts. Okay, I don't know everything. Okay, I know some of you have many more information and experiences. Maybe we can exchange that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Masitah. It's a great talk. So we still have around 5 minutes before we can go for our lunch and then take a bus to Ghazali for the afternoon sessions. Open for questions. Yes, Mr.
Sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you. That was really interesting and enlightening, because I don't know anything about Malaysia, so
Okay.
that was really cool. I have a couple of things. There's a paper titled The Diversity of Participatory Design Research Practice at PDC 2002-2012, which was written by Kim Halskov and Nikolai Brodersen Hansen, and they review the main issues that have been addressed in the Participatory Design Conference since 2012 up until 2002 up until 2012. It's really interesting because it would give anyone who reads it an idea of what was happening at the time. And it's really interesting because I think there's one thing that we need to consider when we work in PD. Participatory design emerged in Northern Europe, right?
Correct. Norwegian.
Exactly. So Finland, Denmark, and whatnot, and they have a particular way of looking at the world. So these would give you, all the students, an idea of how to, or what was happening at the time, and then so building on that sort of recommendation, I wouldn't refer to participatory design as a method. I would, or how I see it is, I see it as an approach rather than a method, right? So it has many methods that you can do a lot of things with.
Sometimes I say terms, I don't know, interchangeably.
Sorry.
But, that's what the definition that I was trying to use was that one.
Okay.
Because there are many techniques that you can use for PD.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and with that, I would say that what I would, how do I say this? I think that we have a responsibility as researchers and designers and developers and whatnot to make a contribution from the place we're from, right? So my question here would be, what is your contribution to participatory design from a Malaysian perspective, right? So, and here's the thing. Back in Colombia, we have a bunch of different indigenous communities, and they engage participation in particular ways, right? So, what some people are trying to do is they're trying to understand how these communities conceive and enact participation, and then they bring that to the core participatory design literature, which is something that we tried to do in the Participatory Design Conference in 2020. It was the first time the conference had 3 big tracks. One was in English with many different tracks in between, Spanish and Portuguese, because Brazil is crazy. Like, they do really interesting, powerful things around participation that are grounded in their own epistemological approaches, right? And no one in Denmark knows what's going on in Brazil, right? So I think that's what I would be really interested in reading in the future from Malaysia, like learning how participation is enacted here. And you were talking about culture and how it works. And I think it is important to say, hey, this is us, this is how we think, this is how our society operates, this is how participation exists in our context, and thus this is our contribution.
Yes.
That's why I was talking about thinking about participatory design as an approach rather than a method, because you could also bring new methods that you design here in Malaysia that no one else in the world would be able to design, because right, you have something that's really special, unique, and important. So yeah, that was the other thing. And so yeah, I'm just really excited to see what's going to come out of Malaysia in the future. I was going to could you go to the previous slide?
I was putting this one because next is, are we talking the same language? I mean, are we talking about the same participatory design, at least at the national level? So
Right.
I think that should be what's next, because
Yeah.
there are people who are
Sure.
doing it, but maybe we want to learn how they do it and why they say that it is participatory design from their point of view. Maybe from there we can understand, at the context
Yeah,
level. Okay,
yeah.
sorry about that.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's okay.
so this is.
That's a great conversation.
What-
Yeah, and the other thing, yes, the other thing that you mentioned that I thought was really, really interesting was about the developers in bringing participatory design to their practice, because
Okay.
engineers are trained to envision solutions,
Yes.
but they're not necessarily trained with soft skills to deal with people.
Yes.
Right? So how is that affected by the local culture, language, approaches to life? Would be really interesting to see. And what I'm trying to get at is that I find really interesting the point you're making, because usually when we think about participatory design, we're thinking about, the community,
Yes,
something
yes,
that's
yes.
outside
Yes.
the work of development.
Yeah.
But then again, we're also part of our own communities.
Mm.
That's why I was talking about communities of practice, right?
Right.
And so I think that's really powerful, because it goes in a sort of multi-directional way,
Yeah.
which is something I also said, sorry.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful, because it is about growing together and learning how to build these networks that could design and offer solutions that are meaningful and not just another app, like you were saying. So I think, I haven't seen that before, and I thank you for that, because I think it's really powerful and important. So no question, it was just a long comment.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I was like, okay, what's it?
What is it going to ask?
Okay.
Yeah, another question.
Any question? Thank you so much, Leo.
Thank you, that was great.
Continue. Yes, please.
Yeah, Dr. Masitah, my name is Ralph. We're from Sarawak Development Institute, SDI. I think it was very interesting to hear the perspective over in West Malaysia. And I think what really, for myself at least, what really struck me is how you feel very strongly to include policymakers into the process. I can share a little bit that we have had challenges with that. We're not even in ICT, for that matter, but in terms of community development, trying to match expectations has always been a challenge with policymakers, because they have their KPIs, right?
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask, do you have any successes in terms of getting policymakers involved? And if there are, how do you convince them? Because in most cases for us, they're usually these big guys and they don't even have time for you, so you have to call them also. They're like, okay, we schedule a meeting, and then they don't show up, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious if you guys had any success, and if you
Yeah.
did, how did you convince them to
Yes.
be
So
part of
it goes back to the story that I shared with with this one. I think at that time it was still under Khairi Jamaluddin. Now it is Adham Babu, right? With the swap petitions. So this was during the minister of Khairi Jamaluddin. He was very, very, very busy person. But of course he has another guy, okay, under him. So the thing is, they don't have time, obviously. So what happened was, the thing that is responsible is, it goes back to, you need to do your homework. We did the homework of really read out the policies, what actually they wanted to achieve. Really use their language, what are the KPIs. Okay, if you do this, your team can gain this. If you do this, you can gain this. You can gain this. So we visualize for them. Okay, when they see that, okay, because they don't have time, so we have to translate that for them. Okay, so I know it's very strategic, but that's the thing. That just an extra work that you have to put in, but this one worked. it come together with some, you have to come up with your own notes, whenever that you have the chance. Yeah. So I think that is a typical scenario in the government or the agency setting in Malaysia. So that's how we go about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so any more questions? Just one quick one.
I'm Lilia from Structural Development Institute as well. Back to what Ralph was saying earlier on. I mean, if you look at this particular session that we're having at the moment as well, you notice that there are not people from the government sector. I mean, I don't know whether the intention is whether the invitation is sent to them, they're not here, but ASPEC was part of it. Has been involved in the discussion somewhat as well. I think one of the most difficult thing to do for us in the institute is that we try to link the government with academicians and at the same time the grassroots as well in terms of the work that we do. And it's not an easy task as Ralph has mentioned. What they propose in a way is good in the sense that you look at what is in the policy and try to, in a way, plan out strategically what they could actually do to achieve the objectives that they have. And as mentioned by Prof. Caroline yesterday, there's a lot of policies. Policies are very good on paper.
Yes.
And it doesn't get translated down, Well, it could be because of the implementers who are not, in terms of the right capacities is not there, etc. And I think this, when we talk about PD, it is not a very new area. I mean, it can, there are different names to it as well. But the thing is that, a lot of work has been done by researchers. The academic world doesn't get the attention of the policymakers. There is this gap that is there. We have been talking about a lot of very interesting ideas, solutions, and whatnot, but it doesn't get across to policymakers. What can we actually do to try and get this information across? Because I do find that in working with UNIMAS, with PTS as well, that link with policymakers is just not there, and that is a gap that has got to be very much reduced and very much looked into as well. It should be targeted in the way we do things to ensure that the solutions that we're proposing, get across to policymakers, and that's definitely not easy. The fact that the two politicians were here with us yesterday, I mean, there is a sort of indication that there is interest in this area. So I do think that there is a great need to identify a champion among the politicians especially, or even policymakers, who could actually support what we're talking about right now, and it's so very important. And the need to identify these champions, to share ideas, like you said, opportunity is there, grab it, go to whoever has shown some interest and get that person to get this across to policymakers as well. So we've been doing this work for a long time already, and we feel that that's probably one of the best stuff to work with. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of programs that actually doesn't take this into account because of funding is there,
I know.
Implementation period for the project is there. You have to get it done as quickly as possible, and our communities become the last mile. And it just doesn't suit their needs and so on. So I think that's one of the most difficult things we're facing now when you look at a lot of programs that we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I don't have the answer. Obviously, I don't know, to be honest. But I think because of the situation here is, we're very much dependent on the guy on the top. If okay. So I think another thing is, I forgot to mention. What is it? Sorry. Let me see the. It's just gone. Sorry.
Lunch is ready now.
Okay, lunch is ready. But yeah, I think I stop at here. Okay. And again, I don't have the solutions. So what we can do together is we start with small things. You know, make sure that it has impact. I think that the impact really important. When we have the impact, people open their eyes and they now say, it's important. Then let's start to do it. Let's practice it.